What's up, everybody? It's Compass back here with another EPL pick'em. Of course, we just got through week 1 of EPL action. It was an amazing week. There was some great matchups. If you don't know who I am, I'm Compass, owner of the Space City Comments. I'm being joined here by two people today. I'm being joined here by Clutch, the owner of the Chicago Curve in EPL, also a former Triple P opponent that I used to go against. Very good opponent.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Happy to be here today. Happy to help Compass out. I didn't even look back at the record last week, but he's got some different opinions in the booth this week, so that way he doesn't have to take all the heat, if he just, goes 0 for 8 this week or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think I did pretty okay last week, but yeah, I definitely need some help this week because it's gonna get pretty spicy this week. And I'm also being joined here by another former Triple P opponent, Lancer. He's the owner of a team in the Sunshine League. Lancer, former Triple P opponent, also a very good opponent too. Has a lot of skills. Almost made it into the EPL himself. Just barely didn't make that cut.
Yeah, just barely. What's up, everybody? Glad to be here. Trying to do my best Lee Corso impression as much as I can, but we'll see how well each team does for week 2, and I'm very excited.
There seems to be some great series here in week 2. Week 1 was a very good week. We will talk about that at the end of this video about how the standings are looking and a couple series of note. But let's start out here with the Hampton County Tabby Cats versus the North Pole No Sox. What are y'all's thoughts again about these two teams? Of course, Clutch, you got to play the North Pole No Sox last week.
I did. It was really close series. Two walk-offs for Bacon and his team, the No Sox last week. Coming in 3-0 against the 2-1 Tabby Cats. From what I remember, I'm looking at it right now. Overall, pretty healthy pitching staff. Um, I think kind of went to his plan, and then Tabby Cats and Haha Healy. They had a 2-1 week. Started out pretty good. I'm trying to pull up their rest right now. They also look like I mean, Unkai can go game one. Graviton Arai only has a 1 game rest. Looks like it's a very, Oda also has only 1 game of rest. So he's got most of the pitching staff at his disposal. My guess here is Tabby Cats take 2 or 3 in this series.
Okay, that's a pretty valid guess. Lancer, what's your thoughts on this series?
Just seeing the skills between both the players, Sir Bacon Bits and Haha Healy, right now it's gonna look like a very, very close matchup, especially for the series. I mean, again, Unkai gonna be ready to go first game, but we gotta make sure that we remember that Mamoru Ikari is also gonna be starting for Sir Bacon Bits, most likely in game 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be a very interesting pitching matchup for our first game. But honestly, I think that it's gonna be close, but I'm gonna say the North Pole No Sox take 2 out of 3 in this series. But I will say the Tabby Cats take game 1, and games 2 and 3 might be very close, but they go in favor of the North Pole No Sox.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have y'all two here because I only got the pitcher rest pulled up and I don't know like the pitcher rotations off my head, so I can only just look at what their games are looking like. Both of them don't look like anyone's too bent out of shape. No pitchers that are out for like entire series or 2 games. No important pitchers that are out for 2 games or anything. It's going to be a very close series. I thought the North Pole No Sox looked very good against you, Clutch. Of course, the series was very close. They did get the mercy rule in game 2, but the rest of the series was very close with those 2 walk offs. I thought they looked like a very good team, but on the other hand, I thought that Healy himself, He looked like a very formidable opponent. He did go up against the White Comets last week, and they have a very formidable pitching staff, and he took the brunt of it. If I remember correctly, there's a big pitcher, I think Suzakaze, on Big Sid and the White Comets roster that's out for 3 games because of just how much he pitched him against Haha Healy. So I think that winning that series in the way he did, I thought that was very impressive. I think it's going to be a very close series. I think it could go either way, but personally, I think that the Tabby Cats win 2 of 3 against the No Sox. So, we in agreement of 2 out of 3 for the majority.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a split. I'll be very
Yeah.
shocked if the series ends in a sweep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I would not be surprised if the No Sox win 2 games. It would not surprise me if either of these teams win 2 games, but I just can't see it going in a sweep. I think that it's going to be a very good series, a very close series.
Yeah. I am with Lancer. I feel pretty good about their take of game one going to the Tabby Cats and that, matchup of aces probably. But then, like you said, there's the other 2 games are going to swing one way or the other. And I'll be curious to see if, whoever takes game one, uh, that might be the difference between Haha getting 2 out of 3 versus Bacon able to take 2 out of 3. Is that game one? If he can steal it.
Yeah, if he steals that game one, that's huge against a great pitcher like Unkai. Unkai is so hard to get hits against.
Absolutely. Just that fastball can really mess with your timing, but if they try and switch it up, put in a little bit of like Shudo, some of that, I believe it's a vertical slider, that might be taken advantage of. The key is just basically early offense when you can get it, and just make sure that your pitching staff and your defense can provide good protection of your lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I wonder how Unkai is going to be pitched in that game too. If he's going to go 6 innings, 9 innings, because with the new pitching rules, we've seen a whole lot of new rotations, new strategies. Some people clearly didn't really understand the rules week one. I expect that to change really soon, but I saw some interesting strategies, and I'm gonna be interested to see how Unkai is gonna pitch, because if he pitches him right, he could pitch him game one and game three. Now we got my series. Of course, I'm the Space City Comets. We're going up against B Farrell and the Philadelphia Bandits. Not gonna say my opinion on this series, but I got some stats pulled up on my phone from the Deuce. If you were a fan of the Deuce, you know that both of us were in the Deuce. I was Florida and he was Tennessee. We were both in the SEC. Both years we did match up in the SEC championship. And season one, I did beat him in the series, but I lost to him in the SEC championship, making it 2-2. But I did beat him in Super Regional, making it 3-2 on our series on the year. I beat him 3-2. And then for season two, he beat me in our 3 game series, 2-1. But then we matched up again in the SEC championship, and I took that off him 2-2. So overall, it makes us very even. I only have 1 win over him in the Deuce. We're very even opponents there. I think it's gonna come down to team composition. Y'all want to take it away?
Yeah, I honestly, so B Farrell had a really great week against YG in the Green Revolution. I thought, speaking of team competition, I thought YG had an excellent draft overall. So I was surprised to see him drop that first series. Um, so B Farrell's looking really tough coming into it. Obviously, Compass, you had a pretty solid week. I'm kind of looking at pitching rest. Both staffs looks like they're going to have their top pitchers available at some point in the series. No one more than 2 games of rest. Um, really don't know where I'm going to go with this one. I'm kind of again at a 2-1. Um, I'm probably gonna give 2-1 to the Comets, but I will say that's probably just me being a little more familiar with your game Compass and than B Farrell's. But that was a really impressive performance in week one from what I know from B Farrell. So I think it's gonna be one of the series of the week. Um, and like I said, I'll give it 2-1 to Compass right now, but could easily see that being 2-1 B Farrell instead.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said about the B Farrell having a great series against YG. I think he proved in a lot of people's minds that he is here. He is a contender. He is not just some random that came over from PlayStation. Of course, I was hyping him up big time, but not a lot of the Switch people knew too much about his game. But the way he hit against Myojin in game one was really amazing. And he really showed that he came here to play. He is in EPL to win this. He's not here to just play around. Lancer, you got any thoughts?
Kind of the same as Clutch here. I mean, I can definitely see this going both ways, either way for the series. But game one, just based on rest, I noticed that B Farrell will be without Rebukai, which could definitely face as a little bit of a problem since I mean, they could start with Kurama for this game, but you're the Comets. They have Go. He's ready to start for game one, and I can definitely see that game going towards Space City. But game two, I say would go over to the Bandits just because of Rebukai, especially if they come out with McMood. That could definitely be the end all be all for that game. But game three, I see it being very well contested. Both teams can just fight for the entirety of the game, but I see it being very close. But I'm gonna have to give the edge here um to Space City. I mean, the bullpen for Space City with Shirayama and Otome, that can definitely help if need be, if they want to try and keep their rest floating. Like if you want to have Go maybe pitch for game three at some point, I can definitely see something being worked out and going in Compass's favor for this series.
All right, so we heard it here from the gallery. Space City is gonna take it 2-1. Of course, I think it's gonna be a very close series. If I have anything to say about it, it's just gonna be very close. It's gonna be a huge matchup of the week. I guarantee that. Gonna be a lot of raging moments. I've been known to rage against B Farrell a lot. I think that he rages against me a lot too. So it's gonna be a fun time. All right, our next matchup we have Clutch here in the Chicago Curve, going up against iPump in the Lost City Monarchs. You got anything to say about this Clutch to start out with?
I'll let you two take it away, and then I can circle back with any thoughts I have.
All right, well, first off, looking at the rest, we could see here that Pseudo is going to be out for this entire series. Pseudo is one of the Curve's best pitchers, in my opinion. I'm a big Pseudo fan. He has a very good fastball. That hurts a lot losing him out on the series against such a top contender like iPump. Going down to iPump's rest, he's not really missing out on anyone. Of course, Kiba is not going to be ready until game 3, so Mood can really mess them up there if they aren't careful, but should be able to pitch in game 3. Honestly, iPump is just, he's too much of a beast. I'm sorry, Clutch. I hope you don't take this personally, but I got the Monarchs in a sweep. They're just, iPump is one of the best in this game, and it's gonna be very, very difficult to take him down, especially without Pseudo.
Yeah,
Lan-
I'm gonna have to agree with Compass on this one. I think it's just this is going to be a really tough series for Clutch to go in and try and at least scrape off a win, especially no pseudo coming in. You do get Raven in game 2, but I think that might not really fair for a good fight. And I think this is just going to be a sweep here, 3-0 for the Lost City Monarchs.
I do want to add on that I do think Raven can put up a fight, Alan Raven. But, I mean, the Pump is such a good hitter. I would say he's the best hitter in this league. He, I feel like he's gonna find his way around Allen. He always finds a way around every pitcher. It feels like no matter who you throw against him. Uh, I threw a super OP pitcher named Murphy Preston against him in the College World Series in the Deuce. Someone nastier than, in my opinion, any pitcher in WBSC. And he really started figuring him out too and started getting hits off him. So I don't know. He's just a crazy good hitter.
No, I'd say this is gonna be a tough series for the Curve this week. Goal is to steal game 2 with Raven on the bump, but otherwise, yeah, no, I really said d- tough to get 3-0'd week 1 and have a couple games slip by, and then now, like I said, I definitely see Pump being one of the best players in this league. So, uh, uh, the Curve know what they're in for. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I will say that if you are able to steal game 2, I would take that as a dub in the Curves book. I mean, let's be real, the Monarchs they're gonna be, if we continue to do these pick'ems, they're just gonna, we're gonna pick them to be in for a lot of sweeps. There's not too many opponents that could really get a game off them. And the thing is, they're so consistent too. He is really one of the most consistent opponents. He does not drop a lot of games to opponents that he shouldn't. Next matchup we have is Green Revolution versus the Bay Rockets. We have YG, also known as Yabe Gaming, versus John's Copyright. For this series, I mean, John is a dark horse contender in my opinion. He's pretty competitive. He was competitive in the Triple P scene last year. But Yabe, he's too good. We saw exactly what he did against B. Farrell. Even though he lost the series, it was still very, very impressive what he did. He was hitting with players like Myojin, who had E contact very, very well. Myojin hit very well, got a base hit at least every single time he came up to bat. I honestly think it's going to be a sweep, but John, he could put up a fight. We'll
Yeah, I
have to
don't.
look at the rest.
Say I don't see any rest listed for Johns, but I'm just looking at the rotations. No one's really standing out for me for Johns.
Well, I also want to add in that Suzuku is not going to be able to pitch for YG, but Suzuku is not really. Suzuku is an okay pitcher, but definitely not top of YG's lineup. I don't think that he misses out on too much by missing out on Suzuku for the series. But that's just a little note in there that one of his starters is out.
Honestly, the weird thing that I'm looking at right now is Myojin 1 game and Amazaki, I would say is probably the third pitcher in that rotation, is also out for 1 game. So I'm really not sure who YG is going to throw game 1 and feel really confident in. I think that might be John's path to stealing a game in this series is that game 1. Um, but I'm assuming after that he'll split those 2 pitchers up to take some innings in 2 and 3, and that should give him enough of a chance to put some runs up. So I'm thinking 2-3 are gonna be some tough games, but that game 1 might be a bit more of a flip than it normally would be, looking at how the rotation's shaken out.
Yeah, I could see that happening in game 1, but I don't know, like the possible use of like Tanakayama, excuse me, or Cujo as the starting pitcher, that might somehow be a dark horse here for YG. And yet, I also don't even remember the pitchers that were used. All I know is that game 3, um, in today's series for John's copyright, he used Ken Yamaguchi for the start. So I don't know if they're out 1 game or 2 games. So we might not see them until game 2 or 3. I feel like Ken Yamaguchi definitely with the forkball that Ken has, that can also be a way that he can steal a game from YG in this series. I don't know if it'll be game 1 or game 3, but I still feel like YG will take the series 2 out of 3. But again, just flip flop game 1, game 3. You can see either one being a win for the Bay Rockets, and that just seems like how the series will end up being in my book.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, we can't see what John's copyright. We can't see what his rest is. It's too early on. They just got their game done today, but I think if Yamaguchi's ready in game 1, I'm not sure if he will be. Y'all could correct me if y'all know he's not going to be ready, but I think that if Yamaguchi is ready for game 1, he definitely has the chance to steal it. I just think it's gonna be YG in a sweep. I think that's the safest bet. I do think that John is not just. We shouldn't just write John out of this series. He definitely can catch a win, but I think YG's too talented. All right, next matchup we have is the Osaka Foxes, which is Serena versus Dot Crew, which is Frisk. Of course, the Osaka Foxes, they had a tough week 1 matchup against iPump. They ended up getting swept. Um, I can't really tell you too much about them from that series. It didn't look good, but I don't think that any team is gonna really particularly look good against iPump. It's kind of tough to tell what's gonna happen. But Dot Crew and Frisk, they did look pretty good against John today. He was locked in. Of course, we know that Frisk, a lot of the time, he's not really locked in when he plays a lot of these games, but he has made the attempt to lock in for these games, and I think that it did show off. I think that he did have a pretty nice performance against the Bay Rockets, even though the Bay Rockets kind of blew him out in Game 3. The rest of the series was close, but I did think he looked good.
It's gonna come down to does Serena get hot at the dish? Very known to be a streaky hitter, but when the streaks are high, I mean, I'm just kind of looking through Frisk and Dot Crew. Uh, I'm not seeing any super difficult pitchers from what Serena's talked about, like their, blind spots or weaknesses are. Um, if they can put the bats together, that could be really dangerous. I don't think there's a shutdown pitcher that Frisk has if Serena's locked at the dish. But I'm gonna tend to go with Frisk here, just historically. Triple P has been able to finish higher. So
Hmm.
I'll I'll take Frisk 2-1 here. Um, but like I said, it kind of depends on what hitting version of Serena shows up. If they show up and they're really swinging the bats, they're probably going to win this series. But if they're cold, I could see this being a sweep.
Yeah,
Lance.
I mean, I feel like this is going to be a tough series for Serena, especially game 1. They're going to be without Possessed Tatsumori and Maguro. So they have to resort to possibly starting with a Tsukami.
They don't have Possess Atsumori Majuro or Hoshi at all.
Yeah, no Hoshi either. So that's going to be very tough for the first game at least. But I feel like depending on when Serena wants to put in Atsumori, or if they are going to put in Atsumori or Maguro, they might be able to sneak one in, but I agree with Clutch here and say that Frisk has a good shot at sweeping this series.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with both of y'all. I definitely agree with what Clutch said. It definitely agrees on what version of Serena we're getting. Serena is super streaky with the bat, but she really tends to turn it up as the season goes on, and that streakiness really dies out. Whereas early in the season, she more likely tends to struggle out, I feel like. Both in the first season when she played in double P and whenever she played in triple P, she started off pretty slow and ended up turning it on towards the end of the season. But I gotta agree with y'all. I think that while she does have the potential to grab a game against the Dot Crew, I think that I just see the most likely series outcome being Dot Crew sweeping. Is that an agreement, or y'all think
Yeah, I think
Suprema's
that's
gonna
the
get
pick
Yeah, I
one?
here.
believe so.
Alright, moving on to our next series, we got Flickin' Squibs, also known as X Long, versus Purple Hurricanes, controlled by Slimefall. This is gonna be a very good series, in my opinion. X Long, not someone that we typically think of as a no lock on player. Pretty skilled lock on 3 player, but doesn't have that no lock on experience. They did face the Soda Beer Sunrise in a relatively unclose series, but they did end up taking a game off them, and I thought that was very impressive that they were able to take a game off of Penguin. But the games 1 and 3 weren't really close. It's gonna be very hard. Slime has been in EPL for all 3 seasons now. He's a very veteran no lock on player. He's known around the community for playing on no lock on and all the tournaments and all that. Very good power hitter. Honestly, just without looking at rest, I think that the Hurricanes are gonna sweep most likely. I don't think that the Flickin' Squibs can pull out another miracle like they did against Penguin. But I do think they're gonna look better than they did in game 1 and game 3 against Penguin also.
Say, Slime, like I said, that week one, getting swept, but had a couple of competitive games in 1 and 3. Um, Flicking Squibs, like you said, took two tough ones in game 1 and 3. Um, but game two was super competitive when they did win it. Uh, I like I said, kind of adjusting to the new environment, things like that.
I also want
I
to throw in real quick that the Flickin' Squibs, their rest situation, it's not looking the best. Red and Yakumask, two of their top pitchers, are both out for 2 games. So while Rebu has 0 games, with Rebu having 0 games, they don't have anyone else other than Rebu for that game too. So that might be a little bit of a tricky situation right there.
Yeah, you almost have to choose I I don't know. I would almost choose throw Reboot like save him for an inning if the game is close in that first game, and then just trust him to start game two and hope to just soak up innings because you're probably going to use the rest of your rotation in game one if you're going to be competitive. Man, I, I feel like it doesn't describe what I think Exelon can do in this league, but I'm almost tempted to give Slime a shot at a sweep here this week. I think it's more on circumstance than skill, though. It looks kind of hard for Exelon, like I said, getting used to the no lock on and everything. So I'll predict. I think it's kind of a hot take. I'll predict a sweep for Slime. But I could definitely be wrong. But I think that's gonna be my I'm locking it in. That's my hot pick of the week. Purple Hurricanes take the sweep here.
Nah, I low-key think that's not really even a hot pick. I agree with you with the slime sweeping part. It's just that it's so early on for X Long. He just doesn't have that experience yet. But I do think as we move on through the season, he's definitely going to be our most improved player of the league. He's definitely a skilled player, but just not his environment yet. He's not comfortable yet. Lancer,
Yeah,
got any thoughts?
I don't really think I see a sweep being a hot take at all. I mean, missing out on Yaki Mask and Red for games 1 and 2, that's just a really low blow that you're gonna have to deal with. I was debating a little bit on giving Flickin' Squibs a game. Just looking at the Purple Hurricanes pitching staff, I just feel like there isn't really too many names to write home about. Maybe only like Hisakata or Tachikawa being two names that kind of stick out. But when I look at um Flickin' Squibs, I also just don't see that much in their pitching staff either. I mean, they have both Abetos, but yet once you can understand the pattern of how a beta pitches and you get a better understanding of their forkball, I feel like they're very easy to hit off of. And Roseo Veris, that's another pitcher I just see being very easy to hit. I experienced that with Lock On 3. I experienced that with no Lock On. It doesn't matter. That guy is just way too easy to hit. So I'm going to 100% agree with both of you. I think that the Purple Hurricanes are going to get the sweep for this series.
I also want to say that the series, as we describe it more, I'm realizing more and more that this is just like it really favors Slimefall and the Purple Hurricanes just because of how good of um, a power swinger he is. Because of all these trash pitchers that are gonna be used, like a beta, he has two Abetas, which is like, why would you have both of them? In my opinion, not dissing him or anything, but like one is enough. Like if you figure out one pitcher, like why would you put in the same pitcher? But anyway, with all these trash pitchers that are going to be pitched from both sides, in my opinion, of course both of them have some pretty bad names. I think that the Flickin' Squibs kind of outmatch the Hurricanes in that department, but with the Flickin' Squibs main pitchers being out for 2 games and also Fukumizu being out for 2 games for the Hurricanes, it might just be a slugfest, which definitely favors the Hurricanes. Alright, moving on to the next series, we have the Crowhoppers, controlled by MC Scales, versus the White Comets, controlled by Big Sid. Big Sid is one of the main people I want to talk about rest because last week he did pitch someone a lot and ended up getting them 3 games. Let me go check who that is. Yep, it's Suzukaze. Suzukaze will be completely out for this series, but he does have a very good pitching staff. Otherwise, he does have Doe and Kagurazaka. Um, the Crowhoppers, they had a very good series against the Wild Jokers and Matt. Matt is someone that I think is a very good opponent. Not someone that too many people are familiar with. I know that you're pretty familiar with him, Lancer, from season 1, but
Yeah, knocked me down to double P. Thanks a lot.
yeah, thanks a lot, Matt, but not a lot of other people on Switch know about him just because of his hiatus that he took, but I think he's a very good opponent. But MC Scales did take him down. MC Scales, a triple P winner. Um, Big Sid, a double P winner. Honestly, I think that the Crowhoppers are going to take this series 2-1. I think that the White Comets are going to be able to sneak out 1 game somewhere, but it's going to be a difficult series for them. I think that MC Scales definitely has them beat skill wise on no lock on. He has a lot more experience on no lock on.
I'm just looking at pitcher rest right now. I'm sorry, Sid, but like, what are we doing here? Like, we only have one pitcher available. I, do we have a
Wait,
position player?
wait! I just realized I
Like,
didn't
do we
even
Yeah.
have a
look at.
position player that we can throw? Because I mean, I'm not even talking from like a competitive like Bonda already is not a super like hard pitcher to pick up, but like can they even last 9 innings if you don't get blown out like early? I don't know if they have enough stamina if they're getting knocked around for 4 or 5 runs to go all 9 innings.
Do they
So
have
like
enough
who
stamina to go all 9 innings if they
Yeah,
are
I don't even
dotting
think so.
up?
Let me look at the let me look at this. Hold on.
like I I'm not gonna lie, like it almost feels like your options are go up 7-0 and get an early win or just lay down and die and go to game two. Like it you're in such a poor situation with your rotation. Luckily, like I said, after that one game, you have three pitchers coming back, so it does. It shouldn't sink them for the series. But yeah, give me Crowhoppers game one for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's an automatic win for the Crow Hoppers. Just based off that. I
Yeah.
mean, Bonda is not someone that you really ever want touching the mound, much less you want going for a full game with no other options other than fielders. I don't know what if any of his fielders can pitch. Let's pray that they can because it's gonna get ugly.
Yeah, I just don't see game one going that good for Sid here. It's just really rough to see that they don't have another pitcher that can come in and help. I mean, MC Scales here for the Crowhoppers, they don't really have any of their top pitchers available with Hokuto out for 2 games, Octavia and Afro Ikari being out for 1 game each. But just having Bonda as your only pitcher, that gives the Crowhoppers the easy advantage for that first game. And then again, you get Doe back. He can start game two. But then most likely you're going to be going up against Afro Ikari, who is one of the best pitchers in the game, and nonetheless also being a really solid bat. So MC Scales is probably going to put them in that DH spot. It's just going to be a rough series for the White Comets. And honestly, I can't see anything else happening other than a sweep for the Crowhoppers in this series.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's honestly gonna be a sweep. As you said, Lancer, they the Crowhoppers, they don't really have their top pitchers for game one, but it's a lot better than Bonda. Azitsu, I have infinitely more hope in than Bonda. Azitsu is actually pretty decent in my opinion, has a little bit of speed and a little bit of iron ball and a fork ball. Bonda has speed on the base pass. That's what he's good for. I mean, like, not a pitcher at all. Not someone you want on the mound. Just not a good outlook. So, are we in agreements that this is most likely going to be a sweep?
yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
I
I think
agree.
Sid's in a tough position to find a way to steal one of those later games.
Man, so far it's only been two split series. It's a lot of sweeps so far. I think that a lot of people have tough matchups, and a lot of people did not really manage their pitcher rest this week very well. All right, now our next series, and what I personally think is going to be series of the week, the most watched series, the series we should all be looking out for. We have the North Shore Hanu and Zumikaku reigning EPL champ versus Soda Beer Sunrise and Penguin Pouch reigning EPL regular season champ. Not sure if they faced in the playoffs of EPL last year, but this is going to be a huge matchup. In terms of skill, both of these players are two of the best Power Pros players in the Western server. Two front runners to win the entire thing, to move on to the land part of this competition. I think that it's really going to come down to how the rest is looking and how the rosters are looking for how the series is going to turn out. Y'all got any
He's,
thoughts?
Zumi's got Asawa coming right off, no games. Kureba is only 1 game out. Looking at Penguin, Daigetsu, and Papillion, ready game 1. Honestly, both of them have.
Wow.
Penguin only has, I mean, has 3 pitchers with 1 game of rest, but he's got the rest of his rotation ready game 1. I don't know how they set that up. I'm assuming a lot of 3 inning appearances, trying to keep the rotation fresh. So, uh, both of them look like they did a good job of managing their rotations week 1. They're gonna get to, they're gonna get to do what they want to do, what they probably strategize to do. I think it's gonna be a heck of a series. I don't think anyone's at a competitive disadvantage from a management perspective. I think it's gonna be who executes better on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Zumi 2-1, but coin flip series. That's for sure.
Series of the week right here. This is going to be one of the best series that we're going to have in the EPL, possibly all season, with Zumikaku and Penguin Pouch, both players absolutely incredible at this game. I mean, if we're looking here at run differential for the both of them, I mean, obviously the North Shore Hanu, they went 3-0 last week. Soderbeer Sunrise went 2-1. They lost a game to, who did they play last week? I forgot.
They played the Flicks and Squibs last week.
Flicks and Squips, yeah, thank you. Yeah, they went 2-1, gave up a loss there in extras. But if we look at run differential, the Hanu, 16-0. They shut out their opponent last week. And then we look at Soderbeer Sunrise, 15-2. 13 run differential to 16 run differential. That is very close to me. And this game 1 starting pitchers for game 1 is going to be incredible. You're going to get Asa coming from Zumikaku and the Hanu. And then most likely for Soderbeer Sunrise, you're going to be getting Daigagetsu. That game might be one of the best games we're going to be seeing in the EPL all year. And
Mm-hmm.
both pitchers, you got Excalibur for Asa, you got Daigagetsu's deadly fastball. Which one's going to win that game? I think it's going to be edged over to Asa and Excalibur, and the Hanu will sneak in game 1. Game 2, you're going to be getting Kariba from Zumikaku, and I'm not even sure who Soderbeer Sunrise will go for in game 2. Maybe Alvin, possibly?
I think we might be seeing Taramoto into an Alvin, maybe.
Possibly that could work out in the favor of Penguin Pouch there. And I can definitely see Soderbeer Sunrise somehow sneaking in that game as a win. Then we head to game 3. And it's going to be that one's going to be a really good one. Who am I going to favor for that? I'm going to sneak this one for North Shore. I just feel like the pitching staff from Zumikaku here is going to be a little bit more sophisticated and a lot more pumped up to come into this series and take the win. So I'm going to say North Shore Hanu is going to win this series 2-1.
Well, I agree with both of y'all. This is going to be a very close series. Going to be the series of the week. Just to play devil's advocate, I'm going to say that the Soderbeer Sunrise are going to take this series 2-1. Daigu Getsu is one of the best pitchers in the game. He has someone like DJB78 or Inuki who could come in for just an inning and get Daigu Getsu's Tyrant going. And Daigu Getsu with Tyrant going, we all know he's a problem. He might be able to even stop Zumi, who's one of the best bats. Asa, if you can I will say Asa is pretty hard to hit, but if you can figure out that forkball, it is definitely hittable. And I think that Daigo is slightly harder to hit than Asa, in my honest opinion. That's why I would just take Penguin in a 2-1 series. But I really do agree with Clutch that this is a coin toss series. Of course, the majority of the guests said that the Hanu were taking this series 2-1, so that's what we'll list this down as. But I could see this going either way for both teams. This is going to be a huge matchup, and this could really decide who's going to be going to LAN. This could be a series that decides a lot once we get to the very end. It could be a series we look back on and say, what if the Soda Beer Sunrise just won the series?
Definitely keep an eye out on when that series is getting played in tune in. You're not gonna want to miss it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, if you're watching this video, I just make sure you're there for it. It's gonna be one hell of a series. All right, we got our last series. We have the Smooth Jazz versus the Wild Jokers. We have Jeff versus Matt here. This is a pretty good matchup, if I do say so myself. Matt is a season one playoff contender in Triple P. He lost barely to MC Scales in the Triple P semifinals, just like he did in week one. Kinda deja vu there, but also Jeff, he also was semifinals in season two. He lost to me. Both of those were in a 2-1, so I would say what they've done in EPL beforehand has been pretty similar. Of course, Matt just comes off a series against MC Scales again where he lost 2-1, and he did look pretty good. Um, it was a decently close. It was a close game too. Game one and game three weren't particularly close, but he showed off that he's definitely one of the better hitters in EPL. Um, Jeff, he got swept, got shut out by Zumi, but Zumi's just one of the best players in this game. I would say the best pitcher in EPL skill wise. So I wouldn't say that's too indicative of his skill, but definitely not that great of a look there. Not looking at rest or anything, I would say that Matt takes the series 2-1. Although rest could definitely change my mind on that.
Taking a quick look here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the
Um,
rest.
Matt's looking pretty clean. Probably gonna need like Narumi and Shindo to take game one. But then one and Ninjitani able to go later that series. Jeff Mileman's got to sit out till game three.
Oh,
Um,
that's tough. That's
Uh,
very tough for Jeff.
that can be tough, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I'm big on momentum. I talked to Matt just week one, series loss, but took that one game. Felt like he got some bad luck, knocking off some rust. Um, and just seeing Jeff, like you said, you just played Zoomy, took the sweep, probably pressing a little bit. Um, I'll go Matt 2-1. But if Matt really takes a step forward this week, I think Jeff could be in trouble again for a second week.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this series could also just be a little bit of a coin flip. But looking at Jeff's staff, he'll start with Goggles Onishi for game one, so that could be a pretty big factor for Jeff to take out game one. Game two, Matt is going to be getting Aone as well as Ninjitani, so either or, you're going to be getting a good pitcher on the bump. But game three, I think Jeff pulls that off, especially you get Mileman back. You're going to want to like have that faux starting pitcher. Maybe get like Suiko in there and just throw in Mileman because again, Mileman also has Tyrant built in. I just
Mm-hmm.
see the Smooth Jazz taking the series 2-1.
Um, I agree with you when you said that game three, when Mileman comes back. I definitely think that that's a game that's heavily, heavily favored in the Smooth Jazz's favor. In my opinion, Mileman is the best pitcher in this league. There's no getting around it. He has the heavy fastball that you want. He has Tyrant, which is one of the best abilities, and he has a much better pitch selection than someone like Neogen, which only has that fastball, which, as we saw last week, can get him in a little bit of trouble. That's why I believe Mileman's the best pitcher in no lock on. But other than that Mileman game, it's going to be pretty difficult. Of course, Onishi with goggles is a good pitcher, but I mean, Matt's a very good hitter, and I I just can't. I see him taking the series 2-1 personally.
Yeah.
Well, we had one vote on the Smooth Jazz 2-1, and then one vote on the Wild Jokers 2-1. What was your prediction again, Clutch?
I said 2-1 Wild Jokers.
All right, so 2-1 Wild Jokers is what we're gonna put down, but a very questionable 2-1, a non-agreement 2-1. All right, that finishes up our pick'ems for week two. Just to go back over, we got Hampton County Tabby Cats versus North Pole No Sox. They take that series. The Tabby Cats 2-1. Space City Comets take that series against the Philadelphia Bandits 2-1. Chicago Curve lose out to Lost City Monarchs in a sweep. Green Revolution sweep the Bay Rockets. The Osaka Foxes get swept by Dot Crew. Oh no. Alright. Flicks and Squibs unfortunately get swept by Purple Hurricanes. The Crowhoppers end up sweeping White Comets. With the series of the week, we got the North Shore Hanu taking 2-1 against the Soda Beer Sunrise. And last series of the week, we got the Wild Jokers taking 2-1 on the Smooth Jazz. Overall, we got a bunch of sweeps this week. A bunch of pretty good series that we should see. Um, I don't think that the amount of sweeps that we picked really represents how close some of these matchups are going to be. I could see a bunch of these not being sweeps, some of these games, some of these series having a person steal a game off the other person. Maybe some upsets this week. Alright, and here we look at the standings. We have 4 undefeated teams through week 1. Then we got a bunch of teams that went 2-1 and 1-2, and we have 0-3. Our 4 undefeated teams are Zumi, Sir Bacon Bits, I Pump, and myself.
Yeah, I think we won't see all four of those teams undefeated by the end of the week. Let's start there real quick.
Yeah, I
I think
definitely agree.
we'll start seeing some separation at the top there, trying to kind of compete for, staying on the opposite side of the brackets in the playoffs, um, and who's going to get the chance at taking the regular season crown. But then otherwise, I mean, kind of looking, Penguins gonna be a tough position. Like I said, they have to play Zumi, so they could be uncharacteristically towards the, lower in the standings after next week. Um, I'm just kind of like looking through spitballing, and it's gonna be tough looking at the standings after next week because I think we talked about there's a lot of one-sided matchups that I think are gonna make some teams not look reflective of how the rest of their season could go after 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be it honestly the more interesting thing to see after this week is which teams bounce back from an early deficit, whether that's because of poor performance or just a tough draw at the beginning of their schedule, and which teams are pretenders at the top. Who had either a weak couple weeks or they came out hot but they didn't. They start facing some new competition. The competition catches up. Can they keep it up? I think it'd be super interesting to see how that shakes out. Because even though it's a very fast league, with only 8 weeks total, nine series, um, there's still 28 games, and we're only gonna have 6 of 28 after this week. So there's still plenty of time for teams to really shape their season, even after take a look at this week.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with most of everything you said. Lancer, any?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much kind of going off of Clutch here. Definitely going to be some big movement from the standings going in. I can at least see one team sticking undefeated, and that would probably just be the Monarchs. Again, we always talk about it. I pump one of the best no lock on players that we have in the Western scene of Power Pros, and going up against the Osaka Foxes, who struggled in week one. It's looking to be more in iPump's favor going into that series, so probably going to be our only team sticking to 6-0. North Pole and No Sox also could be a team that sticks around, but I can definitely see a game being lost at some point in that series. Maybe send them to 5-1, but yeah, otherwise standings seem going to be sticking around this kind of look after week two, but we might see a surprise team hop up in the standings late in the season.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Um, yeah, I agree with what y'all said. I think that there will. I mean, of course, Sir Bacon Bits has the opportunity to stay undefeated this week with his matchup, but I think that the Lost City Monarchs are going to be pretty much the only team to remain undefeated if everything goes right. Hopefully, I could stay undefeated. That's me just speaking biased against myself, but there's going to be some top matchups this week. Of course, one of Penguin Pouch or Zumi's going to move uncharacteristically down the leaderboard. B. Farrell and myself have a tough matchup this week. One of us are going to be sliding down. I expect YG to definitely shoot up this board at the end of the week. I also expect Slimefall to shoot up towards the middle. Those are the big changes that I foresee coming.
Just make sure that you tune in for all the e-baseball you can this week because we have had some really exciting games through one week. And like I said, every team has 28 games. All of them have 25 to go. There's a lot of stories still to be told. And, it's more exciting than a lot of MLB baseball you can watch unless you're a fan of a really good team right now. So you might as well tune in and watch some really good baseball because even I'm going to tell you right now, even the series that are predicting our sweeps and things like that, I think you're going to see some really thrilling games right up till the end, even if it ends up not going in the favor of the underdog. Um, I very rarely think this league will produce any weeks where, there's like three uncompetitive games.
I really have nothing else to add on, but just say watch the EPL. We've got great competitors going at it each week. I think people are also going to enjoy once we get to week 5 with the doubleheader week. You're going to love it.
Yeah, the doubleheader week is going to be super fun. It's going to be super hard for people to find their matchups and everything, but from a viewer perspective, of course, I consider myself a viewer most of the time because I be tuning into almost every game. That's going to be super fun. This whole season has been super fun, even just through week one. The hype through week one has been amazing, and it's looking like it's gonna be a very fun, a very competitive season. All right, there's our pick'ems for week number 2. I really appreciate Lancer and Clutch for coming in. I want to wish them both good luck in their series, and Lancer in your league next year in the Sunshine League. Also, make sure to check that out. That should be fun with some of the people that missed out on the EPL, there's also gonna be some really good talent in there too. If you like Power Pros content, make sure to like and subscribe on this video, and make sure to join up on the Discord in the description to make sure you can find out where all the games are being played and when. Also, make sure to check out the description for my Twitch, for Clutch's Twitch, and for Lancer's Twitch. And that'll pretty much be it. I'm Compass signing out. See ya.